Now to quorum. And I think, Karen, technically you're chair of this this subcommittee, so I'll mute myself now.
Okay, sorry, my other meeting ran late and I just finished dinner, so a little scattered today. It's been one of those days, just back to back since 7:30. So no, actually it was 10 of 7. But so are we ready to start?
Mhm.
Okay, let's do it. And I don't have the agenda in front of me.
So the first item is the call to order and it looks like 7:03.
Okay.
And roll call, but I'll just write down who's here and who's missing.
Thank you.
And then the approval of the minutes from December 15th.
Okay, all in favor? All right. Unanimous.
First order is old business, survey results outreach.
So where are we with that? Is Derek gonna join us? Actually, you know what, Esme, I haven't met you yet. Hi, I'm Karen. Nice to meet you.
Too.
Are you an EOSMA student or a community member? Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm a junior at EO.
Okay, welcome, welcome. I'm an educator. I work at the Goodwin University Magnet Schools. My son went to EO Smith and graduated in 2017, I think. Okay, got that out of the way. So yeah, do we have for the outreach, where are we with that?
Sure. I mean, I can just tell you that, you know, the current status is, of course, right. We submitted the report to the town on Human Rights Day last month. And in that, of course, has a big section on the survey results. It was then added to the town council's communications packet for their meeting last week. I think it was Monday last week. So it was inserted there. I believe as well, and Margaret, you can tell us, it was supposed to be posted to the town website as well. So it's there. Is it on the Human Rights Commission?
It is, and it was posted the 9th of December, so in time for Human Rights Day, International
Great.
Human Rights Day.
So, and then there was some communication on Human Rights Day, I think through the social media about it as well. So that's essentially where it stands now. And if we had talked about doing some smaller infographics or, you know, some other kinds of communications around that, and I think we're still open to that if folks think that's that would be a good thing to do, to create a, you know, did you know series of you know, Facebook posts or something like that, or if there's any other you know, ways people wanted to do outreach with it. Barbara and Jane had talked about some community conversations at a certain point, so you know, I think those are all potential items to pursue.
And if I may jump in, I had hoped to have a draft actually of a press release. I thought that since you did officially submit it to the communications to the town council, that we could recap, you know, the fact that we posted the first annual report, recap some of the outreach in a press release for what it's worth, if you will, to push it out. And that outreach campaign that Glenn is talking about is actually our third old business, you know, just next steps on. And I think the survey results were part of that outreach, but that there might be some, to your point, some data points in there that we could glean to reach out in a did you know kind of a campaign.
What's an example of something that you're thinking? What's a data point that stands out?
Well, without having any of them in front of me, but I'll make one up. I mean, just, we might say, did you know that, there are people, who feel that the transportation, accessibility to people with physical limitations in Mansfield, isn't sufficient, that like there may be, if there's a few that we want to glean out and share, with sort of a learn more at, that kind of thing. We could even cite things beyond our survey, in terms of some of our school and student body data, right? And what languages are spoken in our community. I mean, I think there's a lot of things like that that could get folded into our outreach campaign.
Okay. So I'm curious, like the demographic data in the community versus the demographic data in the survey obviously is different. So
right. So that's what I mean. I think the survey follow-up is one thing. And so I guess maybe just to finish off that topic, I know, Glenn, that you were on that meeting with the town council last week. I'm not sure that did you get to speak to the report? It was a packed meeting, I know.
Exactly. Yeah. So we weren't on the speaking agenda. I didn't hear any of the council members noted or acknowledge it. So, we could take another run at trying to get in front of them, but maybe we want to wait until we've got something else or something new that we want to bring as well.
Sounds good. And so is there more, because you said the third item on the agenda is also
Wait,
outreach.
I'm waiting kind of to speak. It seems to me that we need to do more with that survey than just tell everybody what we found out. It seems to me that survey is the pointer to what we need to work on next and dig into more deeply. And the things that I remember, although this isn't everything, were one was accessibility of transportation. And one of them was affordability of housing. Then there were some issues in the schools around language and harassment and some things like that. And then we have the politics of not wanting to hurt anybody's feelings, but still trying to make some noise about the fact that people are not being well treated in some situations. And I think, I imagine that one of the purposes of this commission is to do things, not just tell people what we found out. And the big number for me is that 33% of people aren't happy about various issues in Mansfield, 66% think it's heaven on earth. And as Derek said last time, the 66%, we're really happy to have them, but it's the 33% that we have to look at more carefully, because they're the ones whose human rights are being in some way bruised. So I want us to think about, is there anything we could do? I mean, we can't do anything with the bus system. We can't do anything in particular, but can we raise some consciousness about some of the issues that, the one that really hit me that I don't think we could do anything about is it's almost impossible to get a job in Mansfield if you don't have a master's degree. Unless you want to be a janitor or work in a cafeteria or something like that, because UConn's the major employer and most of their jobs require a master's degree. So, I don't know what you do about that, but I think it's worth attending to, that people with lower levels of education don't get treated well here by their own statement, and they have trouble finding work in town, so they work someplace else. But I'm concerned about the issues that were surfaced, and I think we ought to be doing something to either get more conversation going on or inviting people to come talk to us or do something so that we make those issues a little more visible. So that's kind of where I am with the survey.
So there were definitely data points that were worth pointing out, but I think we have to be careful. It wasn't 35% of the people in Mansfield. It was 35% of the people who filled out the survey.
Well, thank
So
you.
we have
Okay.
to,
Just keep telling
it's a
me.
small,
That's fine.
yeah, a small point. But I think the idea of the community conversations, and I know that that's on the agenda as well, definitely, maybe that's a place where we say 35% of the people who filled out the survey felt that X, and we'd like to have a conversation about, this particular point. Bring your ideas, push up your sleeves and come talk to us.
Yeah.
And then
yeah,
maybe this is a chance then to connect with the other agencies or entities that deal with the specific issue that you're concerned with,
Mhm.
right? So transportation,
Okay, that's good.
you
That's
might,
good.
reach out to WRTD and, say, we did a survey, this is a finding, would you talk to us about it? And they
Yeah.
probably have way more insight into some of these challenges, and they may have ideas about how we can be helpful to address them together. I think the same thing with the schools. Obviously, we've been back and forth with the schools a number of times. We have a number of different contacts there, but this would be another level. And housing, certainly, obviously the town itself is well aware of this, and there's groups working on it, and so maybe there's a chance to reach out to those groups and say, we found this, and how does this square with what you found, and how can we? So
Yeah.
I think you're right, Jane. Like, we as the Human Rights Commission alone can't take these issues on single-handedly. But if these are the issues that are coming up, then that at least tells us who maybe we should go and start building relationships with in order to be a part of it's not like who are we to come up with a solution to affordable housing in Mansfield, but we could play a role. That could
Right. No, I like that. And I mean, we could, if we picked out a couple of issues, and housing would be one, transportation would be another one, and invite somebody to be the panelist, and then run just an open webinar and invite everybody and see what happens. Because that's kind of in the line of what I was trying to do before that I didn't get to do, but I will do sometime soon. That might be good, because people are not, it's always to our advantage to have people be better informed than they already are.
Specific to the affordable housing piece, I know that the community is forming an affordable housing committee or commission, and they are looking for people to join that, including people who are eligible to live in, under the affordable housing requirements. So one of the things that would be helpful is if we could, pack that committee and commission with people who, so maybe the outreach is, okay, folks, we know that this is an issue. Here's an opportunity to jump on board and be part of a committee that's sorting this out for the community, for example.
The committee hasn't been formed yet, Margaret?
No, I believe they're still seeking members. I think that we featured this in the December issue of the town manager's newsletter, looking for, soliciting people who want to apply to be considered to be on this commission. So it's a current need as far as I know.
Well, what if we tried to have, who's ever organizing that, get a few of them and set up a time and do a publicity thing and tell everybody, we're going to have a conversation about affordable housing at such and such a time. And if you want to come register, here's the link. And that way, if nobody wants to come, we don't have to run the program. But
I tend to think it's a little early to try and convene something. I think there's more organization work to do, right? So
what?
well, connecting with some of these the folks
Okay.
who are working on it, what they need. Again, UConn is such a big driver of housing costs here. I think that any plan that did not include the university in some fashion is not going to work. I think there are associations of the landlords who need to be in on the conversation because they can sink it too. And then to Margaret's point about trying to get those for whom housing is a struggle to participate is really important, but really hard, right? Because those tend to be folks who don't have necessarily the time, right, to
Or
participate.
access to the equipment.
Or yeah, so that kind of that's kind of shoe leather, door knocking conversation and network working. And once we've done that and participated, that's when maybe we can hang out a shingle and have a broader conversation. But I would say, and I would say we would also want to be a little bit of a not necessarily the leader of this, but a contributor to it. I think there are other voices and folks who probably have expertise and some track record working in this area that we'd want to take the lead from.
What happened to Susan? Are we not going to get Susan to come talk to us about her project?
She never responded to me. I mean, we can try it again. I mean,
I'd like to. She was really intense about it when I talked to her.
It's, now we're past the holiday, because I was trying, I emailed her sometime near to Christmas and New Year's. So I think
yeah.
there might have been.
If you wouldn't mind trying again, I'd appreciate it, because she's really concerned about housing in the general area and has some pretty creative ideas. And maybe if we could do like something like that radio show she does, where she comes and the person or a couple of people from the group that are starting to look at affordable housing just to come talk to us, tell us what they're up to. That would enhance the relationship, and it might get a ball rolling someplace. I wouldn't mind doing that.
I think if I can check on what the timing is of this affordable housing committee that is forming, because it could be that this is the work that they're planning to take on as they get organized, and we could offer to kind of co-host this with them.
Yeah,
Kind of partner with them. I'm kind of like Glenn. I feel like if there's a whole group that's forming on this issue, it would be sort of strange to steal their thunder and try to have a whole affordable housing conversation when we're not as equipped with the ins and outs perhaps as they will be.
Well, however you structure it so that it doesn't offend anybody, but it still gets the information out, I think that would be good, because that is one of the big issues in town, and that came up in the survey. So I don't know how to do it, but I would love to do something so that people could become better informed about that.
And then the last piece around the survey, we had just talked about making presentations to different groups, and the town council was one, but the E.O. Smith Board of Ed and the Mansfield Public Schools Board of Ed, I think, were two other groups. Maybe there were others, where we have, some sort of a little dog and pony show where we share some of these findings, and, so that's also whether that's something that we need to schedule or not.
Can't hurt. I mean, if you could make like a 3-slide PowerPoint or something so that we would have talking notes, I wouldn't mind doing something like that.
And what do folks think of that list? So the two boards of eds, the town council. Is there anybody else we want to get this in front of?
Glenn, you said UConn is the driver of housing prices.
I mean, not
I don't know.
Literally, but the fact that the students come and rent houses drives the market.
I used to be a housing director, and one year I did off-campus housing. What a nightmare.
I'm sorry.
I started an off-campus housing organization, and they turned on me and nearly destroyed me. When they realized what they had in common and how abused they felt, they decided it was all my fault. So that wasn't fun, but I was young then and foolish. Now I'm old and foolish. Okay, so I didn't want to misunderstand, because UConn doesn't set housing prices, but
no, I just mean
the
the fact that
the student housing and.
But clearly their own housing costs, what they're charging students in the dorms, it does in an indirect way set local housing costs as well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I don't know where they are with that, because for some reason they seem to think that building a new residential complex is a good idea. And I don't know if they can't read demographic data. There's no people to put in the new residential complex. Nobody had babies 18 years ago. It's gonna crash, and they're having it anyhow. And I mean, I don't know a college in the country that doesn't act like this, because they all think, oh yeah, we know it's gonna crash, but we're so wonderful, everybody will come here and want to live in our residence halls. That's kind of the mentality. Okay, all right, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you. I would like to have a conversation in some form about housing in Mansfield. Let me just say, that's what I'm suggesting, and
Okay.
I'm not suggesting a format yet, but I would like to do it.
So we have the housing issue. Were there other issues? It sounded like transportation people were interested. Were there any other items to follow up on?
I know we sent the report to Superintendent Lyman, although I think the superintendent is getting switched out or something.
She's retiring. Yeah.
Yeah, are we gonna have to follow up with that?
Yeah,
I think so, yeah. So, and did we send it to Superintendent Conoyer as well?
Not that I know of.
I did
Yeah.
not. I don't
Okay.
work for him. I work for Kelly, but I did share it with her.
and
Yeah.
Kelly's very cooperative. She's still employed till the end of June, so I don't think we should give up on her.
No, I don't think so either.
And of course, this is
I
a
think-
Mansfield survey and not a Region 19 survey. But,
Right, good point.
Yeah.
good
so they should
Yeah,
know.
I feel like there are so many different strands that we, if you think about the was it 28, 30, 26 rights that go under the human rights. It feels like maybe we need to list them, not necessarily the ones from the actual declaration, but our community connections to those. And maybe we each, and not just in this committee, but maybe we each need to kind of divide and conquer, and then it won't feel so overwhelming. Like if we each have an area of expertise or interest. And then when we come to a meeting like this, we can each report on, whether we're going to those meetings or we're reading their minutes, or even looking in the news. We can kind of give a summary of that area that is our area of interest or expertise.
So Karen, you're suggesting we maybe specialize in particular kinds of, whether it's freedom of speech or freedom of religion or the right to education or the right to an adequate standard of living, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Just a
You know,
thought. I mean,
yeah.
it would just give us, otherwise where do we stop? Where do we, I don't know. I'm trying to come up with a way that we can do outreach, but even more than that we can connect with the community within our purpose.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the part of the intent with the survey was to try and begin to narrow that field, because you're right. I mean, human rights are so capacious, and if you look at the UN system and they have all kinds of committees and special rapporteurs, and it's this right and that right and this place and that right, and it is never ending in some ways. So, part of it is, I guess, a matchmaking between our, as commissioners, personal interests and commitments, and what we're identifying in the community as the needs and concerns. So, the survey is one, and maybe folks here can take a theme within the survey that aligns with human rights interest and
I'd rather
follow
see
up
us
on
do
it.
that, because that's local.
Oh no, that's what I meant. I meant locally, but to take what are the areas of interest, which obviously correspond to the Declaration of Human Rights, and branch out within the community and kind of be that current events person that comes to the meeting and says, so I read through the school board minutes and, you know, these are some of the things with that when we're talking about access to education that are coming up in, you know, the monthly meetings. You know, we may want to volunteer to serve on whatever the superintendent hiring committee or something like that. So otherwise we don't really, like, we can talk about action all we want, but there's so many things to be involved in and we're all kind of just talking about the same stuff over and over again.
Well, going back to the conversation we'd had previously about presenting to these different groups was an opportunity for us to share with them, here's some learning that we have. It was to forge that conversation. So E.O. Smith, what are you doing? You know, what's their Board of Ed doing in the world of these issues? Like, I think it was the idea that we'll show you what we've learned, and maybe it would be a way to cultivate that relationship so that we could kind of get a better sense of what is going on in the schools, what is going on at the regional high school, what is, you know, the next topic for Core Mansfield. Does some of this relate to some of what work they might be doing in the future? So I think that was why that tactic had been identified. But I can leave that alone. So the old business topics was the survey results, the speaker series update with Jane, and then outreach campaign and discussion about future outreach opportunities. So I'm just, you know, we've sort of morphed into a couple of other old business kind of subjects, but just to give Karen a sense of the structure of the agenda for what it's worth.
Yeah, and I have reported in a couple of places that the speaker series sort of is on hold because of our failure to acquire any money to support it. But I've got another idea, which is just a little piece of it, which is to do like a 2-part book club with the library on that book, Waking Up White. And I have to apply to the Connecticut Council for the Humanities, I think, to see if I can get some money to pay the woman who wrote the book. So I'm working on that right now, but I haven't made a lot of progress. But I hope we'll be able to do that. And the library has regular book club, so we'll be jumping right into something that's already established. But I found out that you get the money first and then you do the program, not the other way around.
Great. So it sounds like, just moving through the agenda, we kind of, yeah, clustered a few. So I'm thinking about the outreach campaign, survey results outreach. It sounds like maybe what I'm hearing as far as next steps would be, Jane, you're particularly interested in the housing question. And so maybe you could follow up if Margaret, you're able to identify who's involved in that committee formation. I mean, if Jane would be able to connect with them, and then we could find out how we might work together. The other is to put this, do maybe, you know, as you said, a little dog and pony show with these results in front of the town council and the 2 boards of ed to start. And I'm happy to reach out to those folks to get that on the calendar sometime, and then we can recruit people to go actually do it and put together the slide deck and the talking points and all of that. But hopefully beginning there, that'll open up the next steps for where that engagement goes. Does that sound like in the ballpark of?
Mm-hmm.
And then the more general outreach campaign, that was the conversation, I think, Barbara's idea about doing the human rights, the HRC suggestion box at a few locations, coupled with maybe some infographics inviting people, what do you think about this? Email us or call us or come to this meeting, that kind of call to action in December was the conversation that we had around that. What more can we do to just to get people to sort of talk to us and react to some of the things that we put out there?
Is that something we're interested in doing, do you think? I had the idea. I don't know if that's something we want to do. I looked into some things. I don't know. Do we have any kind of budget? The Human Rights Commission?
So right before we started, Margaret and I chatted a little bit about that, coming off the last full commission meeting, there was some interest in seeing if we could make that request. It is budgeting season. So I'm going to reach out to Ryan and find out about that process and see if we can't, get a little, a small budget to work with this year. So.
All right. I looked into suggestion box kind of idea, and Amazon does have these little boxes for like $30. So if we bought one for the town hall, one for the library, and one for the community center, that would be under $150. And then we could put a stack of paper next to it with our information on each piece of paper. The Human Rights Commission is looking for your input. Are there any issues that you feel like we need to look at? If you'd like to be contacted, put your information here, or we're welcome to do this anonymously. I mean, that's the kind of thing I was thinking about. If you want me to keep going with that, I can put that together.
I don't know if we should spend money on suggestion boxes. I think, we may be able to pull, I'm laughing because a second grader made a suggestion box today at school, and he was so proud of it, and it was a lot cheaper. But I mean, whether it's a wooden box or, of course we want it to be professional looking, but I don't think we need to spend that much. I mean, if we don't have a budget officially.
Maybe you want to make one? Would you like to make some? I think you could get
I
a
could
shoe
probably have
box
some-
maybe and cover it with something. I don't
Yeah.
know how you get in and out of it. It should be locked.
Yeah, well,
I think you're going to spend as much money as the Amazon things. They're not that expensive, but you can, if you want to make one. I thought about it. I think it would look stupid if you covered a shoebox in brown paper and stuck it out there. I mean, is that the look we want to go for?
I can ask at my my school. We have a manufacturing center, and they take on projects, so I can ask.
Yeah.
That's good. Make it a shop project.
Yeah, there's a maker space at UConn as well that the community is invited to also use. So that's another resource that maybe there's someone, or, even through our senior center, that maybe someone would like to make a couple of boxes. But you're right, Barbara. I mean, you still spend $30 a piece on materials and time and whatnot. So.
Well, I think you'd spend a lot more as far as time goes than just buying them at Amazon. But if you guys want to make one, maybe you can bring a prototype to the next meeting. I thought about it, but what I came up with was like really stupid looking. So that's why I went to Amazon.
I'll ask our tech guy and see if he has some ideas. I know they've created like memory boxes and things like that, so it's not far out of their wheelhouse at all.
Okay. So I think that's it for suggestion boxes. Are we going to move on, or is there more discussion on it?
Let's move on.
The next old business was discussion about future opportunities specific to Juneteenth and the Pride Month / festival. And whether, we want to do anything around Juneteenth as a commission. And then I don't know whether you talked with Katie at last week's meeting, any further conversation about the Pride Month activities that she's taking the lead on. But we will be meeting, I think, in early February, a group to sort of figure out the whole Pride Month activities. But I think everybody's open for suggestions and, what might be a possibility with either one of those events coming up on the horizon.
And I'm certainly a supporter of us being engaged in both of those. And so, connecting with Katie on Pride Month and joining her excellent leadership there is probably a good idea.
Is CORE doing anything for Juneteenth? Do we know?
I don't know. They are meeting at exactly this time, so I am here, not there. I can ask.
Obviously, we've got now the mural as a site. Juneteenth falls hopefully in warmer weather. Yeah, we did something last year that we helped lead. So I think in coordination and obviously NAACP, Wyndham Willimantic every year does something. And so I think, again, it's important to connect with them and make sure we're supporting what they're doing. And if there's a way of joining forces, we could do that. So.
Esme, do you know if there's anything planned through the E.O. Smith organizations? Have you heard anything about Juneteenth celebrations or?
No, I have not. I imagine Amy Naughton will do something about it for deliberation and discourse, but I kind of doubt that it will get discussed as a school.
Yeah, maybe pretty close to end of school. Yeah, which is always the challenge. I don't even, what does it fall on this year? It's a Sunday and it's Father's Day. So, so we may look to shift the actual day forward a day, back a day, or something like that.
Speaking of NAACP, if anybody is interested, they are having their commemoration of Martin Luther King this year is this Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. They're going to be showing a TED Talk by Chimamanda Adichie, who was a noted Nigerian novelist. And she's going to talk about the danger of a single story, of only having a very narrow view of a person when the person is much more complex. And anybody can go to it. We've had 50 or 60 people at some of these, and then they have breakout groups. So they're going to watch the video by Adichie, and then they're going to have a conversation, and then they'll be pulling it all together. And it's usually about 2 hours.
I hadn't seen that. That's good to know. Maybe I can share that out as an activity.
It is wonderful. She's a wonderful speaker. She's very compelling.
She actually went to Eastern.
Yeah, she's got local roots. She graduated from Eastern, even that, they sent her here to go to Eastern from Nigeria. God knows why they picked that.
Oh, her sister is Rosemary Maduka. She's a local doctor.
Yeah. So anyway, she is a very compelling speaker, and they're going to have facilitators, and I think it's going to be a good program.
So I'm happy to follow up with folks on the Juneteenth thing to see what's in the works in different quarters, and hopefully in the next month or two, that'll start to come into focus and we can decide exactly how we want to be involved. Is there somebody who will connect though with Katie on Pride Month?
I will be connecting with her because we are planning, we're trying to organize some events around themes within the town's departments, and sustainable living in Mansfield is sort of our spring theme. And then we will be doing a cohesive Pride Month focus, and then we will have another sort of an event theme. So the library and the community center and different departments can do programming or have their own events or book club discussions sort of underneath these themes. It's a way for us to kind of collectively promote things that are going on in the community, kind of loosely thematically. So we will be doing some organizing around Pride. I think when Katie gets back from her vacation, so in the next week or two, I think she was planning to organize. So I can try to report back, but you may all see her on the HRC meeting reporting out on that anyway. I think she's hoping to do maybe a movie. It's kind of challenging because in June it doesn't get dark till, of course, 10 o'clock at night, but trying to do something as a public event. And I think that the youth, My Pride group at the middle school has given them some ideas of what they thought would be some fun, engaging activities. I think she's really trying to get the youth involved from the middle school and the high school to participate and help shape these events to be meaningful for them as well, and to try to get some, make sure that the flag raising happens at a time when kids can come out for it, and that kind of really try to make it more cohesive. So it's just new business. Karen, I think is the next topic if we are.
Okay. Do we have new business? Does anybody?
I think we just did new business
With
Juneteenth and Pride.
Oh, yeah, I think that was on our agenda. So is there anything not on the agenda that that we want to plan for next time? I'm guessing not. So is there anything for the good of the order? Does anyone want to move to adjourn? Is there anything?
I'll make a
we're good.
motion. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I think that is where we are.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I sent an email to our tech guy. I'll let you know what I find out about boxes. I asked him how much they might be, so we'll see.
Okay.
Great.
And Margaret, if you can tell me who is organizing this housing thing so that I can get in touch, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think the staff member is probably Linda Painter, but I will confirm that, Jane, and
Okay, thank
know
you.
where that commission formation stands.
Good, thank you. And I'll
All right.
just have a chat with her.
I need to sign off.
All righty.
Great. Thank you all.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye, Esme.